So today, me and my friend Toria are going to talk about the cryptography and mining using FPGA. To begin with, let's discuss what is cryptocurrency at all. The word cryptocurrency is derived from the encryption techniques which are used to secure the network. A cryptocurrency is a form of digital based on a network that is described across a large number of computers. This decentralized structure allows us to exist outside the control of government and central authorities and earn money like that. Important thing for cryptocurrencies are the blockchains, which are based on the organizational methods for ensuring the integrity of transactional data. As I said, these are the essential components of many cryptocurrencies. However, many experts believe that blockchain and related technology can disrupt many industries, including finance and law. Therefore, it is usual that cryptocurrencies face criticism for a number of reasons, including their use for illegal activities, exchange rate volatility, and vulnerabilities of the infrastructure underlying them. However, these have been praised for their probability, divisibility, resistance, and transparency. So cryptocurrency might have pros and cons itself. To sum up, overall cryptocurrency is beneficial because instead of government and central bank controlling the creation and supply of fiat currency, cryptocurrencies implement a decentralized approach which relies open distributed ledger held by a range of third parties, and therefore it is harder to control. Furthermore, unlike a centralized approach, new currency units cannot be produced at will. Instead, there is a cap on the total number of currency units. So it is derived and described independently without anyone's certain will. Now, Anna will talk specifically about FPGA in mining.
FPGA Bitcoin mining. At the foundation of block creation and mining is the calculation of the digital signature. Different cryptocurrencies use different approaches to generate the signature. For the most popular cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, the signature is calculating using a cryptographic hashing functions. For those unfamiliar with cryptographic hashes calculate a fixed length, a unique string for an arbitrary length input. Most importantly, a small change in the input to the hash results in a big change at the output, as it's demonstrated to the next slide. A hash, therefore, acts as a digital fingerprint which can only be recreated by inputting the same exact data. The specific hash used within the Bitcoin transaction is SHA-256, which produces a 32-byte resultant hash value. Now, hash values are easy to compute using both traditional processors and field programmable gate arrays, also known as FPGAs. So what makes Bitcoin mining so difficult? To be accepted as a valid Bitcoin block, the calculated hash must be below or equal to the target value set by the Bitcoin network. Essentially, this means that the calculated hash must contain several leading zeros, and the target value decreases, the difficulty of finding a hash below the target value increases. Calculating these hash values is often referred to as a proof of work. To generate a hash value which is below that of the target value, we must be able to change the input to the hash. However, during mining, we are calculating the value of a fixed number of transactions with fixed content. Therefore, to change the value of the block's hash, we need to add in another parameter, which we can change to achieve a value below the target. We call this additional parameter the nonce. Of course, small changes in the nonce and the input to the hash result in big changes in the resultant hash. This makes generating a hash with a value below that of the target very challenging for a single miner running a single hash algorithm. Now, zooming into the FPGA implementation in more detail. There is an XCI bus, so the processor can read and write FPGA registers to communicate with it. The 125 MHz internet clock goes into a PLL and creates an 80 MHz clock for the hashing core, which does the double SHA-256 hash and returns valid nonce to the registers. SHA-205 operates on 512-bit message blocks, and the block header is 64 bits, so it's padded out to 124 bits comparing to 512 bits message blocks. The hash of the first message block won't change when we increment the nonce, because the nonce is on the second 512-bit message block. So we do the first message block hash in the processor, and we call this hash the mid state because it's the state of the SHA-256 state registers halfway through the first hash. The mid state is set to the FPGA over the register, but along with the leftover block header data from the second message block and the target value for the hash output. The hashing core, which is SHA-256 wrapper in the code, has two SHA-256 transform blocks. The first one uses the mid state and hashes, and the second message block. And the other one does the second hash with the output from the first SHA-256 transform. Each SHA-256 transform has synthesis time configurable number of what we call digesters in the code. Each digester does one round of message schedule and state register updating in the SHA-256 algorithm. Configuring the number of digesters control how pipeline the design is. More digesters gives you faster hash rate at the cost of consuming more FPGA resources, while using fewer digesters give you slower, smaller hashing core. Single digesters take 64 cycles to compute an output because there are 64 rounds of message schedule and state register updates in the SHA-256 algorithm. With two digesters, it's split the work and each one performs 32 rounds before passing the result to the next digester. So a new SHA-256 output is computed every 32 cycles. We can continue this pattern for 4, 8, 16, 32, and 64 digesters. With the 64, a new output is computed every clock cycle. So it depends on your resources, how many digesters you will use. I think most usable is 32 because it's fast and you can use smaller resources of your FPGA. Now I will continue with alternatives.
Thank you, Anna. We have several alternatives of the FPGA. For example, a GPU or graphic processing unit. It is responsible for the digital rendering in a computer system, and due to a high power potential, these machines became more useful in blockchain mining due to their high speed and efficiency. But bad thing about GPU is that it performs on low hash. And another quite similar actually is ASIC. In other words, it's an application-specific integrated circuit in which miners are electronic circuits designed for the sole purpose of mining Bitcoins or other crypto values. But as you understood, ASIC has its backdoors too, because it cannot be optimized. In other words, once it is concentrated and built on one coin, it cannot be changed to mine on others too. Now let's compare the performance of time algorithm and compatibility. As you can see from the first diagram, FPGA is faster than the GPU, but slower than the ASIC. And as you can see in the algorithm compatibility on second image, GPU can mine on all coins. Comparing ASIC and FPGA, ASIC is faster, but not compatible for many coins. So if it's built for the Bitcoin, for example, it cannot be concentrated on other coins too. Therefore, FPGA is a better way to go here between ASIC and GPU. FPGA has a better returns due to high hash rates compared to GPU, and it has high flexibility in algorithms, which outperforms the ASIC. Overall, to compare the pros and cons of FPGA and other alternatives, as you can see, FPGA is less friendly, and ASIC and GPU are pretty friendly and easy to use. But on the other hand, it performs in moderate hash rate, and it is adaptable. So you can change the coin you want to mine and make it as flexible on the market as possible. Other than that, as we already mentioned, it is faster than the GPU, but slower than ASIC. But on the other hand, ASIC is not flexible, and GPU is more flexible. To sum up, the key to an FPGA implementation is high performance, as functions like hashing are best implementing using a hardware description language based approach, mostly either on VHDL or Verilog. That's mostly it. Thank you for your attention, and we're open to answer any questions related to our presentations in the future.